Good morning. I got a nice little snooze. You guys are gonna get a rare peek as I go around and do my quick little inspection this morning. You're gonna get the rare peek of the drive all night bull hauler stepping into the sun for the first time. I'm melting. I'm melting. Oh. Everything's still riding good, y'all. Made it 1,100 miles yesterday. That's a good old push. I think I got beard hair in my mouth. I think I got I don't know. I don't know how many miles left to go. 250 maybe. Man, gotta love wintertime driving. Everything's just like blah. The gnarliness. Oh man, so last push. There we go again. The last push we'll make here, you guys. Last push, we'll get these in. Yeah, it's definitely warming up because the poo is turning back to goo. See that? So anyway, time we get down there and unload, it'll be thawed out. We'll get a washout, get cleaned up. I was gonna try to get a backhaul. Oh, sorry. I was gonna try to get a backhaul, maybe out of New Mexico, out of Clovis or something, but I don't think I'm gonna have time to mess with it. We're short-handed up home for my customers, and I think I'm gonna have to just rip it and rock. So we'll see though. If something real great pops up that makes sense, we'll grab it, but otherwise I think we're just gonna be flipping the old chariot around. So tires are up, cattle are up, everything's in order. So for like the 7th time this trip, let's go.
The storm is coming, but I'm prepared. I'll be gone for a while, but don't be scared. Right now I don't know if I'll ever arrive. Where the grass is green, we're still alive. I hope I'll see you on the other side. I know that I'll be paying for the ride into the black hole. Sing for my soul.
Hey, it's recording. You guys, I'm close. I'm close. I'm so close. I mean, relatively speaking, I think I'm 100 miles-ish. 100. Depends how far we're going. So I know the town we're going to, but then he goes, you're going to follow me out into the country. And, you know, in West Texas, going out into the country can be a very relative term, you know. If you're in Lubbock and you're going out into the country, you're just kind of, you know, maybe heading up 26 a little ways. But if you go out to Nazareth and they say you're going out to the country, you could be going out into the canyon lands, or who knows. It's always you don't ever want to ask, because you're like, yeah, no, I'm cool. It's like hauling those toilets. You're like, yeah, no, I'm afraid of nothing. And then 40 miles later on a 2-track road, you're like, hello, where art thou? Where art thou? Where are you? There you are. Kind of how it goes. Oh man, but I tell you what, these last stretches of these trips, they become really stressful. Mostly, again, I know it's probably, this is cattle though. This is cattle hauling. You're gonna think that I feel like the law enforcement world is they kind of, they're not out to get you, but the laws are so restrictive for hauling cattle, you guys. It's so hard. And thankfully they kind of give you the nod, like, yeah, most of the time, as long as you're not like speeding and being crazy. Usually though, they seem to have a little bit of an understanding for the weight laws. Like, I'll give you another example. I was just in the panhandle of Oklahoma, where, you know, Colorado, you can load, on this rig I'm driving, you can load 89,000 pounds. That's your legal weight. Wyoming, you're legal. Panhandle of Oklahoma, you're legal. Then you get into Texas, and it's like, whoa, you're way overweight. You're like, what? What do you mean? Well, you crossed the state line. You're in Texas now. You're way over. This is one of the weird things about Texas. It's like land of the free, right? They're like, everything's better in Texas. Hey, except for their weight laws, which are some of the most terrible in all the land. I don't know. And these are things nobody knows. Like, nobody's like, oh yeah, that Texas. They only allow 80,000 pounds. See, that's the trick. So you load this load, which is fine and dandy, but when you get down to Texas, which is your last stretch, you're just out here floating around in the daytime, you're weighing 89,000 pounds, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? Drop 10 of them off at the state line again? We talked about this yesterday, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but you understand, these are the workings of your mind, so you're just constantly on edge, like. And then to top it all off, every pickup in Texas and West Texas is a white pickup. You're like, is that a DOT? No. Nope, just another farmer. DOT? No, electric company. DOT? No. Rural water and sewer. So anyway, you guys, I got up feeling good this morning. I get down to Boise City, Oklahoma, and they've got the biggest DOT sting setup you can dream of. Oh, their scale in Boise City is set in the middle of town, and the road bypasses you around town. Like, that's the natural progression. It's not like, oh, I'm going to sneak around town. Like, the main drag, 287, takes you around town. And then there's signs that are like, hey, you're supposed to exit off the bypass, drive into the town, go get checked out, and then go back out and go on your way. You're always like, but I'm already out here. Why didn't you put the scale out? Why would you build it in town? Put it out here where all the trucks are. So, you know, whatever. But anyway, I roll up on the bypass, and again, like I say, I'm weight-wise, I'm legal for Oklahoma, and I'm within my, you know, even my logbooks I've got legalized. And I roll in, and there's highway patrolmen out on the highway, got trucks pulled over that are trying to bypass. They're trying to stay on the bypass. Highway patrol out there waving their arms, go to the scale. So anyway, needless to say, I had to take the exit into town. They were extremely busy though. Had a lot of oversized loads in there moving north, so they didn't worry about a little old cow hauler like me, old JJ, old Rapper Don. You know, that used to be my nickname, Rapper Don. There's like a little time in my life where my wife called me Rapper Don. Rapper Don. I don't know how I got to that. It went from, anyway, sorry, I won't bother you with all my old nicknames. JJ, J Don, Rapper Don, to Jax. So anyway, I'm like 15 minutes north. I can almost see Amarillo up there. In fact, I do. I see it there. First one is to see Amarillo. I called it. We'll bypass around Amarillo, cut south down to Tulia, then we'll head west over to Nazareth. Mile marker 15. We're going north. We're gonna meet the rancher there, and we're going north into the country. Oh yeah, then to top it all off, I look out my window here a few miles ago, and there's a state trooper got a dump truck pulled over, giving them the old inspection, and I'm just like, oh, we are not in Kansas anymore. I'm even legal for Kansas, pretty much. Just not Texas. It's like Texas. Come on, you guys. Get with the program. So most of the western states, it's the last thing I'll tell you, and I'll let you go till we get to the ranch. Most of the western states are all, you can haul heavier. We've talked about this on a few previous YouTubes from last summer, last spring. Like Washington, Oregon, Nevada, Idaho, Montana, the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, even Missouri's decent. Pretty much everybody this side of the Mississippi, I'm not sure sure about Arkansas and them. I think you can be a little over in Arkansas too. Anyway, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California. It's like this L shape at the moment. Losers! When it comes to weight loss, they are losers. L7. Like on the Sandlot, remember? Yeah, they're total losers. Texas is 80,000 pounds. New Mex, Arizona, and California, 80,000 pounds. Unless you're hauling machinery, then you can be like 1,000,000 pounds if you have a permit. So, anyway, keep your fingers crossed for me. Hopefully, the next time I turn the camera on, it's because we're heading out into the country, and I'll time-lapse through the road, and it's not me turning the camera down here to record my interactions with a law enforcement officer. So, what's it gonna be? You call it. I'll drive it, you call it. Turned off the highway. Here's the ranchers in front of me, and we're heading out. Heading out on the red dirt road. Write a country song. Out on the red dirt road on a tailgate. It's a bonfire. Anyway, let's see how far we go, huh? Right on. Hey girls, get your head out of the corner. Come on. Hey. Come on, baby. Hey. All right, we made her in. Whew. It's like 1,350 miles. Long haul. I didn't have my camera on soon enough. He goes, hey, you're a rarity. I said, I am? He goes, yep. One of the only guys that's hit this chute his first try with the big trailer. I know. It's just little old me. Come on, girls. Hey. Come on, get your heads back. Come on. Come on, girlies. Hey, hey, hey. Come up and out. Come on, babies. Come on up. Hey. So, we're here with Wayne, you guys. We made it all the way down to Nazareth. This is probably the longest trip that I've done this year. It was like 1,350 miles. And that's tough. I'm getting a little older in my trucking career. I'm not as good as I once was.
It'll make you old too.
But I can still bang out a big run every once in a while. So all these folks have followed me along all these miles down here. I always tell them that cattle trucking is a little bit anticlimactic because you drive and fight and the DOT and the roads and the weather, and then you unload in about 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, I guess we go home.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, what do you got going on here?
You know, we run a cow-calf operation.
Uh-huh.
We run right at 1,000 mama cows. And,
You do?
And anyhow,
Dude, that's big time.
we've been weaning. We started weaning this week, and so that's what all the bawling.
Yeah.
You hear the calves bawling right now, but we'll wean. We'll leave them in the pens, let them bawl for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And then we'll take them out to wheat pasture.
Okay, so you keep and wean all your own calves. You wean 1,000 calves.
And we'll keep them and run them on wheat pasture up until mid-February.
Okay, because you guys, your wheat pastures here grow up pretty good.
Yes,
You can
yes.
see in Montana, we don't
I
get
don't have-
it.
yeah.
Just barely squirts out, and
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Yay!" But yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't put anything back out.
No,
on
wheat
it.
pasture is a big thing around here in the wintertime. So
Uh-huh.
anyhow,
Okay.
and then grow them till they weigh 850, 900 pounds.
And then you'll send them on.
Yep.
Do you?
Then they go into the finishing phase.
And you'll keep them and retain them all the way through, or do you?
I do
sell
not.
them
I
at that
sell them.
point?
I
Okay.
sell them at that point.
Yeah.
All the profits are already taken out of them. There ain't much profit left in them.
Yeah, and a lot of risk too.
Yes.
That
Yes.
last leg of the journey can be a
Yep.
little risky. So.
Yep. So,
Okay, man, 1,000 head. That's cool. So you must. How many acres down here does it take to run 1,000?
oh, it just
pairs?
depends. You know, I got some irrigated circles of grass, so
Yeah.
it just depends on what kind of how your operation is set up.
And you guys were really droughty down here until
We
late.
were.
Is that right?
Yep. We caught them rains there 1st of August, and we grew a lot of grass and grew a lot of feed in about a month's time span. So
Wow.
we grew feed for next year even.
Because I knew it was really dry, and then I'm watching. My little brother used to practice law in Lubbock,
Mhm.
and so we come down and see him, and so I kind of knew that he's in Dallas now, but kind of knew the deal. And I'm driving down, the medians are like, the grass is like waist high in the medians, and I'm going, they must have got some
Yeah, we
serious
You
moisture.
can grow a lot of feed that time of year if you get some moisture, you know,
Just at
because
the
the,
right time.
the nights get longer and they get a little cooler, and the days are shorter, and it's just the right window for it.
So that was because it was looking pretty bleak otherwise
Oh, it
going
was,
into the
yeah.
winter time, right?
Well, you know, like I said, we got some irrigated circles of grass, so we were going to be fine. So we had enough feed to get through the winter,
Uh-huh.
but what the Mother Nature gave us allowed us to have feed for next year.
Okay.
So it's not just for this year, but it's even for next year. So we're in pretty good
Push you
shape.
through. That's a relief.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Well, we're coming out of our drought slowly in Montana.
Yeah.
We've been struggling the last few years, and this is the slowest fall run we've had. I think we had about 4 weeks of busy, and now we're kind of wrapping up going, oh. But the last 3 years we just been
Well, I get
crazy.
my Angus bulls out of Montana.
Do you really?
From Sid's Angus out of
Yeah.
Dillon, Montana.
Yeah.
Dillon and
Yeah.
Harrison.
Good outfit. Yeah.
Jim Sid's, yeah.
Yeah. They work good for you.
Yeah, real well.
That's cool. And so these heifers that we brought down, were you just wanting to get some more Montana genetics in your deal?
Yes.
Is that
yes.
the
Northern genetics is what we call it.
Northern? Okay, Northern. Okay. I call it Montana, and they call it Northern.
Yes.
We're proud of our genetics, you know.
Yes. Anytime you can get a Northern genetic,
It's good.
it's good.
To kind of keep things. So you guys, that's what Montana's. That's what the North is known for. Is their genetics are a little more. You get down here and you got to crossbreed a little bit for the conditions.
Well, and really not here. You get south of here, they do, you know, and especially down off South Texas and the southeast over there. They crossbreed more just because of the heat and humidity.
Yeah.
We're more of a dry heat. They excel in our area, especially in
Yeah.
the wintertime. I mean, it can get down to 15 degrees, and it's ideal conditions for them because
Yeah.
that's just what they're bred for.
Right,
So,
yeah.
so
Cool.
they excel in our area.
Good. Good. Well, Wayne, I appreciate the work, man.
All right, man.
Thanks for the chat,
Yeah.
and we'll turn and burn. We're heading, hoping to go over to Clovis and get a load back to Idaho.
Okay.
Crossing my fingers. We'll
All
see.
right.
All right, y'all. Just like that. Bing, bang, and boom. We're flipping up out of here. Everything looks good. You guys, there's no greater little victory than when you roll up to a place and they're like, that was impressive. I mean, you know, I am a man of skills. What do you expect? So these cow trailers, they're either 48 feet long or they're 53 feet long. And his little, oh, it's not, I mean, it's not little, it's a big old yard here, but like the approach in front of the chute is kind of a little, it's tighter. You almost got to put the nose of your truck in his little, they have like a little shed thing there. Anyway, we got her. So Wayne, if you're watching, appreciate the kind words. You guys, one of my favorite things about hauling cattle, this is what I love about hauling cattle, and this is why when I'm not hauling cattle, I love to do hopper work, is when you haul freight, I mean, yeah, you meet some good people when you're flatbedding and reefering and stuff, but a lot of what you do, you're dumping it, you know, you're dumping it warehouses and things and whatnot, and there's just not much human connection there. But it wasn't hard to see within a few, I mean, just a few seconds of speaking with Wayne, you can tell how it just has that easygoing, like these are the salt of the earth type folks, you know, the type that just make the world go around and stay steady, just steady. So I love it because you go and it's like one of my favorite things. You like unload, especially sometimes, you know, you unload and it might be a hired hand or something. You can still chat, but I really like the opportunity to get to chat with an operator, you know, an owner of the place. Just because one, you can learn a lot from them. They're typically, you know, if they have you running cattle, especially this far, likely they're very successful at what they do. So there's a lot of things you can pick up, a lot of things you can learn. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Turns out Wayne spends a lot of time and his wife up in Montana, so hopefully it won't be the last time we see Wayne. Oh, last thing, you guys, he just breezed over it like it was no big deal when I was chatting with him. Running 1,000 cow operation is like huge. So many cows. To put it in perspective, at home we run about 180. You know, we used to run about 300. Lost some leases and some stuff like that, and so we weren't able to run 300 anymore. Had to cut way down, and you know, we do about 180 now. And you see how much, you know, from the channel, how much work it is. So to scale that up, you know, times, you know, 5 or 6 times more, it's like, oh man. So he was like, 1,000 head. I'm like, 1,000 head? Wayne, dude, you guys are busy. Another cool thing about these West Texas places, they're real clean. They're just like a clean. They're usually either they're usually steel corrals, and they're usually painted pipe. You know, a lot of times they're painted white pipe. His colors out here are red, so it's just a real clean, just a nice clean thing. You see that some in Arizona, and you see it in West Texas. Montana's a lot more, you know, wood and stuff like that. Nobody paints their pipe, but down in these warmer climates, it's nothing to do with the temperature. It just so happens that usually in these southern areas they do metal pipe, paint it. So anyway, a little more explanation about the Montana genetics. So up in Montana, we don't do a lot of crossbreeding, meaning, well, you know, like in the pet world that a lot of you are familiar with, you know, there's all kinds of crossbreed dogs and stuff, right? Mixes, they call them. In the cattle world, you do that too for certain reasons. You know, if you mix this breed with that breed, the offspring might thrive in a certain climate better, in a certain temperature zone. If you're in a desert area, you put some longhorn genetics into your cattle, they get more hardy and they don't require as much feed. So there's different reasons to mix your genetics. But up in the north, everything's just pure. Anything they mix, they don't really keep around. They typically, you know, the mixed breed stuff they sell. And when you mix breed cattle, the offspring usually grow bigger and a little stronger and whatnot, and make a bigger animal, which for meat production is good. So there's great reasons, both from you know, climate zone / production zone reason to mix. But in Montana, they keep things really pure. We have a lot of ranches that just focus on just strictly on keeping the genetics pure. The red Angus, the black Angus, the Simmental, the Charolais, just pure. They call them purebred ranches. So these heifers he brought down were just good, straight, 100% solid Angus, black Angus genetics. So he'll put those into his herd, and it'll just keep his cow herd genetics fresh and strong, which is smart. Keep them tight, and then he gets his bulls up from the North Country as well. And so anyway, and then from here, this kind of becomes somewhat of a home base for, you know, northern cattle that they can from here move on. So Angus, it seems like Angus cattle are always a really good base breed to mix from. So he was talking about some of the humid areas. They deal with bugs, you know, like there's just more insects and bugs and things that irritate cattle. So they'll mix, you know, cattle with Brahma. Brahma are kind of a wild, jungly type cow that can handle the bugs and stuff. So they cross an Angus. Brahmas are real wild, so if you can keep a little Angus in them, then that kind of keeps them a little bit temperate, and then, you know, you get some bug protection from the, anyway, it's interesting. A lot of different things, but I love seeing the Montana genetics spring forth and be scattered around. So plan from here, you guys. I'm all woke up now. I'm feeling good now that I'm empty. No more worries. DOT, come on. Anyone, inspect me, weigh me, whatever you want. We're all good. Logbooks are good. Everything is good. So it's a big load off my mind. But we're waiting to hear from a friend of mine. In fact, let me check and see. No. He's trying to get me a load out of this area. Clovis, New Mexico is just like an hour and a half, maybe that way, to the west. And might have a load out of there to go back to Idaho, which would be amazing. In my realm of the cattle world, we don't get a lot of backhauls, so we'll see if old Justin can pull through. Come on, old buddy. So until I hear from him, I'm gonna go pull into town, and I don't know, I guess maybe close my weary eyes for a little bit. I should have, remember when I was telling you earlier in the video about, like, hey, I should put my coveralls on. That's why I carry them. I didn't even have a stick. I just letting these things walk out. All it takes is one cow to spin out her hooves, splat. Got poo all over my pants now. Pants are ruined. I'm down to one pair of pants left. We'll see if they can get me to, how long do they need to last? They need to get me till like Monday. And today is Wednesday. Yeah. Worst case, we'll do some laundry somewhere, but I don't like doing laundry on the road because it makes you feel kind of really homeless. Like, wow, I am doing laundry on the road. It's the true sign that I've just been gone for a long, long time. Good morning. Oh, I feel like a new creature, a new creation upon the earth. Get my voice caught up here. Got a great sleep last night. Just a good old 10-hour Gandhi. Gone. I'm finding myself this morning in Lamar, Colorado. Any of you been down around this joint, you'll know old Lamar. So, okay, let's catch you up. I did get washed out. Oh yeah. Ended up going to Hereford, Texas, where I was waiting to see about that backhaul. I'll walk you around. I'll walk you around my inspection and explain what I got going on and why and what I'm doing here. But first, let me fill you in on where we're at with all the cattle trucking. So I was hoping for this backhaul from Clovis, New Mexico, back potentially to Idaho or somewhere north, Nebraska, Colorado, that I could have loaded last night or this morning down there. Had a good buddy of mine digging around for me, looking, and found a load, but it was going to be a little bit too late. It wasn't going to load till Friday morning. Big final weekend in Montana before the Thanksgiving break, and so I couldn't wait down there, because by the time I spent 2 nights in Hereford and loaded to take that load to northern Colorado, it'd be, you know, Friday evening when I was unloading, which wouldn't put me to Montana until Saturday evening, which is way behind where I need to be with what I have, my obligations up there upcoming. So my obligations up there are, there's a sale up there today, there's a sale tomorrow, there's a sale Saturday, and on top of that I've got 2 more country loads that are scheduled on Saturday as well. Sale barn loads. When I say there's a sale, I mean at a livestock auction. So those are always a big question mark, because a lot of factors play into how many loads you're going to get out of there. If the market's super high, you know, my guys aren't going to be buying much. My guys are like real steady buyers, but when the market's making a huge upswing, they don't buy, and when the market's taking a big old drop, they usually don't buy. So, which, you know, that's just kind of the name of the game. But so if there's some big special sale and all these buyers come from all over the Dakotas and stuff and blow into Montana to a sale, my guys typically are like, we'll let them all fight it out and drive the market up, and they'll stay clear. So that's one of the factors that affects how many truckloads come out of a sale. The weather's another factor. Right now, Montana's just getting whomped on. In fact, where I think I'm loading tomorrow morning, it's supposed to be 15 below zero tonight. So I'm about 800 miles south of Montana. I'm in Lamar, Colorado, where the sun apparently shines in the morning. And I think I'm going to be loading out of either Missoula or Butte, Montana. And it's going to be a cold night of trucking. Right now, got a lot of roads closed in Montana. Of course, I'm basically a day's drive away, but a lot of roads are closed. Had a couple cattle trucks of mine last night. Got hung up at a road closed and had to wait for it to open with cattle on, which is never what we like. But the road finally opened this morning, and they got in and got their cattle unloaded. So that's good. But now moving forward, everybody's, you know, wondering where we're going, what are we doing, what's going to happen, just how's it going to shake out. It's always the main question. So you spend a lot of the day really researching, talking to people, calling friends, who's up there, who's been out there, who's rolling across, what's the roads here like, because there's like 6 different ways you can get to where you're going, and a lot of times you have to take pieces and, you know, puzzle pieces and put together to figure it all out. So anyway, that's kind of the update on where we're at. I got washed out, like I mentioned earlier, in old Hereford. They have a nice truck wash out there. See that? All clean and ready for my next one. The traps are open, I better shut those. Yep. So I'm taking advantage of the sun. Taking advantage of the sun to do a few last little things. Bring you up to speed on this engine. I've got about, we're at like 30 some, low 30,000s. I think I'm at right around 30, 32, something like that. It's really, as I can tell, it's really starting to break itself in and come into its power. I feel like every trip I take with it, it's getting more powerful, which is kind of how engines work when you're breaking them in. And it's really coming in. Haven't really had any issues other than off the bat. You remember from the overhaul videos, I did not replace the injectors because I had, like a year and a half ago, put all new ones in, right before we had overhauled it. So we used those same injectors and put back in. We knew at the beginning of the overhaul, one of those 6 injectors was leaking diesel. If you got to watch that video series, if not, you might enjoy it. It was kind of entertaining, I thought, and fun. Anyway, one of those injectors was leaking, so we replaced it during the overhaul. Went out, and within my first, it was my first load of cattle I was taking to Kansas, I lost an injector in Wyoming. So that makes 2 of those 4 that I put in that failed. So I had to replace it. And ever since then, everything's been, that was like 20,000 miles ago now, and everything's just been you know, running out real smooth. Hasn't really used any coolant to speak of. I did get I had one big coolant leak, which you saw in a previous video where my heater core went bad. So we fixed up the heater core and whatnot, and ever since then I haven't had any issues. Probably should put a little oil in. They'll burn a little oil. I mean, all diesel trucks do as it is. This one's really not consuming much oil. I'm quite a ways into this oil change. My last, this will be my last round. So I'm gonna go up to Montana and load and go to Nebraska, and then that'll kind of be it. Bring it in, change the oil, and roll from there. So I'm just below the ad mark right now. So I'll probably throw a splash in there to make sure she's happy. But coolant level has stayed good, and all is well. I did put my PDI tune in this thing, so it should be kicking around 550 horse to the rear wheels. For those of you that know what that means, really solid power. So doing my walk around back here. So when I bought this trailer, y'all, remember I had to put virgin tires on it. It had recaps on it we got rid of. I so happened to have a huge store of some older 11R 24.5, which means the tall tires. Look at that little tick of a screw right there. See that? I'm not even gonna mess with that because it's not leaking, which means it just barely stuck into this lug. But it's not leaking and not hurting anything. So I'll grab my air gauge and double check to be sure, but it's solid. So sometimes stuff like that, see where the roads wore it down, the little heads wore off of it. Just like there's no point. Maybe when I get home I'll address it, but right now if I pull it out, potentially you could start seeping or leaking. So it's happy, we'll leave it alone. But anyway, I had this big store of tall 24 tires, but they were all drive tires, which when you put drive tires on a trailer, it always makes you look kind of like a hayseed. So anyway, here's some drive tires. You'll see what's going on here with this tire. And like I said, you don't want to, because this is the single, you don't want to mess with these much. But for some reason, these inner 2 treads wore down, and I think that was from the previous semi that I had them on. But so in the time that I've been running this trailer this fall, it's been basically running on this outside tread, these middle lugs, and then the outside tread. and it's finally getting these center ones wore down to where it's starting to wear properly. But we're down, once it gets into this where it's actually riding on the full tire again, it's down on these are the little indicators that basically let you know your tires are ready to be changed. Isn't that weird? See that, how it does that? And you can tell when you come in off the highway and drive on the gravel, these will turn white from the gravel dust, and this stays clean black, which means it's not contacting the ground. Anyway, these were some old original tires off my Peterbilt cab over when I bought it. Oh, that's how you can tell they're not leaking when they break your toe when you give them a kick. This is the same brand tire as the front one, but it's obviously being fine. Some people would really not. This would just bug them. Running around the country with drive tires on their trailer would cause them anxiety, especially a lot of cattle haulers, because it doesn't look cool at all. But I'm like, I've got like 14 of these tires that are like over half life still sitting at home. So this trailer is gonna have drive tires on it for a long time. Anyway, that one's holding together well. These are the matched ones again on that center axle that came off my cab over, and then this one's kind of the same thing. And maybe that's something to do with the actual axle. I don't know. I don't know. But basically, I'll be swapping these two tires out as soon as I get home. Just keep a close eye on them. They're not in danger of blowing or anything like that. They got plenty of tread, obviously, you can see. But anyway, they'll be coming off. They served their purpose. They ran me for the fall. They're cheap Chinese things. Oh darn! See, these AirPods got run over long ago. Anyway, so that's that. Like I say, I've got one more trip, and it's going to be a cold weather trip, which means not a lot of heat. Heat is hard on tires. There's not gonna be any heat on them tires. And anyway, they'll run one more through, but everything's good. I do have a slight power steering reservoir leak, which just gives me just a little drip every so often, and it's just coming out of. In fact, I'm glad I remembered this. It's just the metal under here is rotted out, and it's just weeping through the metal. It's not an actual line. I replaced the hose thinking it was the hose leak, and it's not. So I got to order a new one of these for when I get back as well. But otherwise, that's kind of the update on the old engine. So I shouldn't say the old engine because it's pretty fresh nowadays. But I'm gonna go get I'm gonna grab a little bit of oil here and put a half gallon in to get me through until I get home from this last round. And oh, maybe that's one more tip for you real quick. You don't need to have your truck on the full mark all the time. You feel like it is because when you get to the bottom, you're like, oh, I'm gonna run out of oil. You know, you want to really keep a close eye on it, but some trucks, like my my Freightliner, Charlie Brown, it'll run down to that add mark and then sit there, and just that's where it'll ride for most of the rest of the oil change. And this one has been kind of doing the same for the last, 8,000, 9,000 miles, just kind of hanging right there. And so I wasn't worried to keep an eye on it, but being on the add mark is not going to hurt anything. It doesn't hurt the engine. As long as if you don't ever check your oil and stuff, then of course you don't want to do that. But it doesn't have to be at the full mark all the time. So they can be down as long as they're in that range. You start getting below the add mark, then you better put some in, which is why I am here now. But anyway, let's get rolling. We got a big interesting day ahead of us.